Hello and welcome to Talkin Really. Today is a shock story which I discovered, and it was actually published in June this year. However, I thought I'd tell you about it because it's shocking, and it also comes in line with the whole thing about the Tories and their attitude towards disabled people and the persecution that they are performing, and the fact that they are contravening the UN directives on human rights. So this story I discovered from Francesca Martinez, you remember, is the disabled comedian and activist who was on TV quite recently, and I'm quite a fan of hers. I do like her humour. Anyway, the article, shock report, doctors in the UK are giving DNRs, which is do not resuscitate, for people with learning difficulties or even Down syndrome. So a DNR is do not resuscitate. So that means if your heart stops, then doctors do not have to perform CPR or get you alive again. There is a reason. It's a choice that you can make. You don't have to be, if you feel that you've had enough and you want to pass on. Then if you do die, then you will be allowed to die, and they will not make any effort to resuscitate you. In the fact that you could end up worse off, because when they're doing CPR, there could be a risk of broken ribs, airway complications, ruptured spleens, brain injuries, and more. And obviously, if the patient is elderly or frail, then obviously it's their choice. They should choose whether they want to be allowed to die or not. Now, this is a choice that sane people can make. It should never be made by somebody else in the respect of somebody else making the decision about a person. As you can tell by this story, it's actually a shocking report exposed a terrible practice. Doctors were putting DNR on patients' charts simply because they had learning difficulties. The Sunday Times received an advanced copy of the annual report from the Learning Disabilities Mortality Review, which found at least 19 patients were given DNRs and later died because they had learning difficulties or Down syndrome. The true number may be much higher, however, as 4,302 deaths were reported to the DNR, then only a quarter of them have been investigated so far. The investigation was set up with Bristol University and found that 8% of adults with learning disabilities who had died received care that fell short of good practice, and that it significantly impacted on their well-being or directly contributed to their cause of death. Meanwhile, the median age of death for people with learning disabilities was 60 for men and 59 for women, compared to 79 for men and 83 for women amongst the wider population. The public thinks that if you have a diagnosis of intellectual disability or autism, you will die early anyway. That's not the case. We need to highlight that these are treatable conditions and that some patients are dying because they are not getting the right health care. In the UK, this ableist attitude is pervasive. Abortion is banned after 24 weeks, unless the preborn child has a disability, even one as small as a cleft lip, and then the late-term abortion is deemed acceptable. The reality is that people with disabilities have just as much right to life as anyone else. Disability does not mean someone has a life that is not worth living or fulfilling. Every life, whether with disabilities or without, has meaning and value, and it's not up to able-bodied people to decide otherwise. Anyway, I'm shocked and horrified by that story, even though it was a little bit of an old one. You probably haven't heard it, because I haven't heard it before now. So learning disabled and Down syndrome are being given DNR by doctors who are generally able-bodied. Right, hope you enjoyed that, and don't forget the usual things: thumbs up, like and share, and of course subscribe. Bye for now.